Welcome to Machine Shop Tech Talk, or welcome back to Machine Shop Tech Talk if it isn't your first time here. If it is your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So today I've got my buddy Noah coming on. I'm going to introduce him in just a second, but there's an important thing in manufacturing. It's buying new capital equipment. A lot of the time we've got people in two camps. We've got the used machinery camp. We've got the new machinery camp. There's a really big benefit to looking at used machinery, and my buddy Noah is an expert. So we're going to dig into reasons why you should consider used machinery. Noah, let's dig into this. But first, I know we're going to get to the subject. For those that aren't familiar with you yet in the audience, I would love for you to do like a 60-second intro of yourself.
Well, thank you, Arthur, for having me on. It's fun to be on a podcast. I have a podcast as well about machining, shameless self-promotion. It's called Swarf Cast.
I love the title of that, by the way.
Thank you. Well, at least you get it.
Yeah.
Do they say swarf in Canada? Is that what they call chips? It's the sort of the
Swarf
British.
is still a thing. Yep.
The British term. I work in a family business started by my grandfather 80 years ago. We specialize in selling used turning equipment. Specifically, our sweet spot has been multi-spindle screw machines. But we sell Swiss machines, we sell CNC lathes, some mills sometimes, some weird machines sometimes. Weird machines are sometimes where it's at. I've been doing that a while, about 14, 15 years. I like to call myself a treasure hunter sometimes because it's a little bit more romantic than I buy smelly, oily, ugly machines and sell it to somebody else for more money. My coworker and one of my mentors, Rex, when I was starting out, he told me, he said, the machines you make the most money on are the dirty machines and the weird machines. Those are the ones that are undervalued.
Now, obviously, that's a gross oversimplification. You do a lot more in your job than find used equipment, buy it, and sell it for more than you bought it. If anyone's not following on your stuff, you do lives here and there, and you've done a lot of posts, and you've got a great blog too. You didn't mention the blog as well.
Yeah, I was going to do that at the end. Yeah, we have Today's Machining World. I work on with my father. He's a great writer. And we started that. He started that before I got into the business. Over 20 years ago. It used to be a print magazine. It's called Today's Machining World, and we send out blogs every week, and the podcast lives on it. I'm pretty busy with buying and selling, and then writing and podcasting and doing what other mishigas I have to. I really appreciate that, Arthur. Thank you.
I'm a fan. That's how we met at IMTS. But okay, let's stop. Let's not digress. Let's dig into the subject for the people that are there with us. So I know you and I were talking before we recorded, and you shared some of the reasons to buy used. And I was like, man, that would be a great thing to share with the people that are watching. So personally, when I was still in the role of recommending and buying equipment, I was in that camp of only buy new. I had a whole list of reasons, right? I'm going to share them now because people out there watching, they might have the same reasons I did. You know, I wanted to have the warranty. I wanted the service. I didn't want to deal with buying a lemon, right? Where, it shows up and I can't get it running for 3 months. These are reasons. Right. I think there's a lot of stuff I didn't know about it as well. And I didn't know any quality brokers at the time. And I think that also played into it because I didn't know someone I could trust.
That's a big deal.
Trust is a huge deal.
Well, I'll tell you one very important thing about that. If anybody ever tells you you can trust me, run away. That's when I've gotten I've gotten screwed a few times, and they were people who said that. Trust me. Okay. You can trust me.
Yeah.
or the ones who lecture you about integrity. No, I mean, so you're right. If you're buying used equipment, it's really, really important to know who you're buying it from. We've been burned bad before because we were buying used equipment from the wrong people.
When should they consider looking at the used market? This could be a bunch of different reasons, but I wonder what comes to mind, like maybe wins or reasons that you've had good successes when people are like, man, I need this or whatever.
Sure. Okay, so reasons to buy used machinery or that people have? Well, one, maybe you like new machinery and you can't get it. Sometimes back a little after COVID, when they were selling zillions of Swiss machines, people started calling us for some Swiss machines, asking if we had them because they couldn't buy new ones. So that's one reason to buy used when the new isn't available. One reason why a lot of people buy used from us is that we specialize in a certain kind of equipment that you can't buy new now. We sell a lot of cam multi-spindle screw machines like Davenports, Acme's, Wickman's, some fancier ones like Tornos or Schutte. And you could buy these, which would cost anywhere between 20 and 200 grand, or you could buy an index, which if you buy a new index, it's hard to find a used index. We sell used indexes too, but it's hard to find one. If you bought a new machine that does the same thing that these machines do, you're going to pay, $1 million to $2.5 million.
That's
so
just a little bit more.
Right. So, the thing is, like, if you need to make hundreds of thousands of parts, but you don't need to make something, the highest tolerance or, with so many different operations, if you have the people to run them, a cam screw machine can be awesome for you. There are many customers we have who they have indexes and they could be running them on a $25,000 Davenport, but they don't have people. Yeah, they don't have people who want to run a cam screw machine. They feel like, well, we're done with all of them. We're just throwing them out and getting into the new modern CNC. And so that's another reason why you might buy a used machine. I feel like certain machines, I'm not an expert on this, but like presses, right? Like used presses, they're just as good as a new one or better. Yeah. They may make better ones before than they do now. So, and then you have certain models like for instance, like Mayano. Mayano used to have FANUC control. Maybe people, and now they have Mitsubishi control. When they got bought by Citizen, they changed it to Mitsubishi control. But a lot of people have old Mayanos, and if they get a new one, they want it like their old one because they have people who know how to run that. So that's another reason to buy a used machine. And then the obvious reason is price. It's can be very attractive. Right now, we're selling like a Tsugami right now for a significant, probably about half the price. We're selling an SS327 Tsugami. That's the Tsugami with the B-axis Swiss machine. Okay. And this is a 2020 machine. It's like half the price of a new one. Oh, wow. So, if you're willing to slum it with a 2020 machine, and you don't have, you want to, you don't want to spend $350,000, and you already have them, and you already have expertise, and you're already really good at them. Like, there's a place for used equipment. And also just if you really need something cheap because you're a startup and you just don't have the capital. I've interviewed people, we've sold machines to people who are startups who started with a $10,000 Citizen from 1995. And, they're just really good technically. They're really good at fixing it up. And, it was the beginning of them really doing something great. And then one day they'd be buying new machines or expensive used machines.
I really like the entry point, right? Don't let the price tag of a new machine stop you from starting a shop or starting your own company. If you're really committed and you have this passion to do something, have a look at used. A lot of good points there.
Or we sold some indexes this year, some 6-spindle indexes. For people who don't know index, these are CNC multi-spindle screw machines. These were 2012. I can't exactly tell you how much we sold them for, but a couple $100,000 we sold them for. And these people, they're very experienced. They have, tons of machines. They've been in business forever, but they hadn't had any indexes. They wanted to make parts on indexes that they were making on some of their older screw machines. Now, you can't buy an index new and put those kind of parts on there because it's not going to pay for it. If you buy $1 million machine, you better have parts that cost $1 million, that cost a lot. But they wanted a modern machine that they could make their parts on. So that made sense for them.
Yeah, that's another great point, right? Sometimes the ROI isn't there for brand new, but you could get the same utility out of used. It's all great points to consider. And it's all, I love that you're sharing it because I'm learning a lot of this first time listening to you, right? I was in that new machine only camp. I was ignorant of what's possible with the right relationship.
Yeah. It's an adventure. Like, trust me, we've bought some real duds. We bought some machines in an auction a couple weeks ago, and we didn't inspect them. And a guy we were bidding against, who we know well, the story was that he was knocked off the auction by accident by the platform. So he knew about him, and we knew about him, and we talked to each other afterward. And he's a rebuilder, and he went and bought them from us. He went and looked at them afterward. We had people look at them. We didn't go look at them ourselves. If we had looked at them ourselves, we probably wouldn't have bought them. He went and looked at them, and he was like, yeah, these machines aren't operational. And it scared the crap out of us, and we were like, all right, well, let's come up with a deal. So we made a little bit and got rid of our problem, and he got something really good that he's going to do well on.
That would be a whole other market, is the rebuilder market as well, where you can find like a step between brand new and straight up used. You could go to the rebuilt market. I've seen that a lot in radial arm drills. Is the one I've seen it a lot in. I don't know how common it is on other machines.
Well, in our kind of machines, it's common, right? Because it goes back to what I was talking about of they're not making, like the Wickmans that we've sold for, it's a 6-spindle screw machine. These machines, if they're built in the 80s, that's considered a pretty good vintage. 80s, 90s, but even 70s. And we will refurb these machines and sell them to people refurbished. We won't tear them entirely down, but there are many people that make their money from, like the guy that we worked with to sell these machines that we bought a couple weeks ago. He sells Euroturns. It's another cam screw machine that they do produce those, but he's gonna from the bottom up, he's going to create entirely new machines with beautiful PLC controls and I think he'll be able to, maybe he can put a CNC slide on it if people need it. So there's a sort of in-between market.
Well, and it's more options for manufacturers. And I know we've talked about this. I'm on a mission to bring more manufacturing to North America, right? I would love to double the GDP that manufacturing currently has in North America. We're sitting at 11%, so 22%, 25%. I wouldn't be mad about either of those.
Well, what is it in Canada? Because that's where you are.
It's the same. Canada and the U.S. are within 1% of each other usually.
11% of GDP.
Yeah,
what's
it's around
Mexico?
11 to 12. I think it's 12 in Canada and 11 in the U.S. or vice versa.
And so Mexico would be similar then.
No, Mexico's probably much higher.
Well, you said if it's 11% in North America.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. In Canada and the U.S., my friends. I'm sorry. I'm ignorant when I say North America. I'm thinking of Canada and the U.S. But yes, Mexico is part of North America.
Well, they're closer in proximity to us, so maybe we're thinking about them more than you.
That's fair. But yes, so I don't know what it is for Mexico. I know for Canada and the U.S., they're always within 1% of each other. I haven't looked at the data from Mexico. I know nearshoring has been a big topic for 5 to 10 years now. Especially COVID really ramped up the nearshoring in Mexico. I know a lot of companies have opened up down in Mexico. So I don't know what percentage they are. I would imagine it's higher based on the level of investment that's been going in, but it could be the same. But yeah, so I mean, getting to know more about used machinery, when to use it, when does it make sense, maybe a face that people that want to work with you can trust. You know, I believe in you, so.
But when look, there are certain people that they just want a deal. They want to feel like they got an amazing deal on something. That like, look at that sucker who's using that machine that they paid $400,000 for, and I'm using one that's 3 years older, and I'm bought it for $200. There are certain people that they love that.
Yeah, I do that with my cars. I buy 6-month lease returns when I get cars because they've taken the biggest hit to depreciation they'll ever take.
Yeah.
So because they've already taken the biggest depreciation hit on the vehicle, I usually buy 6-month lease returns or older because it.
Exactly.
Same idea. And that might be something people out there are like, oh yeah, I've done that for my car. Why not for the equipment in your shop?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap up. So the moral of the story is now look, I love my buddy Noah. Obviously, I hope you reach out, but whoever you reach out to, start the conversation, especially if you're looking to bring more manufacturing back to North America. It's really important that you consider the possibilities in used equipment, or especially depending on what you need, and building that relationship now, because you never know when you're going to pull on it.
And what I will tell you, the easiest thing to do is ask around. We had a deal where we bought a whole bunch of machines, Swiss machines, in Japan from a really shady Taiwanese dealer. Their name is, I don't have a problem with smearing them because they're awful. Their name is JS Precision, I believe. Our issue was that they sold us some robots and everything seemed to go okay. Pretty okay. And so we figured that they were fine. And we were just so excited that we had found our inside source. We were gonna get machines cheaper than, for some reason these guys could get machines cheaper than the other people. And so we don't want to tell other people about our golden goose.
Yeah.
And then it was like the true con, total con. I was totally duped. I went there and, one of the worst things that can happen sometimes is when you meet somebody in person, you default to trust. Hitler invited Neville Chamberlain over to his vacation home. What's it, the Eagle's Nest, I think? And he spent time there. And afterward, Neville Chamberlain went, I think I can work with this guy. It was because he went and stayed there. There's a great book about this, Malcolm Gladwell's book, Talking to Strangers. Okay. But I digress. I go to Japan, and I go with this guy. He takes me all around all these dealers in Japan. He brings his wife with. We stay in the same hotels together. I eat dinner with his wife. They talk about their kids. We really created this intimate connection. And, sure enough, we put down a big deposit on these machines, a couple $100,000, and we ended up not getting any machines.
Oh man, really?
Yeah. And
that's rough.
I know, man. And then we tried to sue them, but it's really difficult to sue people in other countries.
I'll take your word for it. I have not attempted it.
It's really difficult. After that, we were asking people around, can you help us? Can you figure out how to do this? And people were like, yeah, you got to be careful with that guy. We know them. If you're ever buying a machine from them, you have to be careful. I was just like, oh my God, all these people are all of a sudden telling us you got to be careful with these guys. And
yeah.
Most of the dealers, I'd say 95% they're fine. Some of them are going to be easier to work with than others. Everybody's got different personalities. Some people are more specialists in other machines than others. They're going to be able to support you better. They're going to be able to teach you more about it. They're going to, if you're trying to work with them to broker your machines, they're going to be more helpful. Different people have different ideas of what being honest is. there's just different shades.
It's not just honest and dishonest.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. Some people think honest is you paid me money, I gave you the machine. Some people might go around you for a customer. They find out about, and they go around you. They didn't hurt anybody. They didn't steal anything. I think it's kind of the world that right? If everybody is out to get everybody in your world, and then you start thinking, well, that's the way everybody's thinking. Look, we try to do the right thing. I'm not going to say that other people probably have seen things we've done and go, you didn't tell us about that, you didn't tell us about that, or whatever. We try our best. My main advice is research who you're dealing with. And if you get a dealer who you've never heard of before, just do a Google search, and sometimes you'll find out stuff.
I will definitely have Noah back, because another thing he's super passionate about is communication, and that's a subject I'm a big fan of.
Serendipity.
And serendipity, yes.
Which I think you're a big fan of as well. Shameless self-promotion, anybody? If you're interested in buying used equipment, particularly turning equipment, feel free to look us up, Graff Pinkert. And we also are doing some M&A stuff. So if you are a machining company and you're looking to sell out, or you are a entrepreneur who is looking to purchase a machining company, we have ones, both looking for and selling. And again, Today's Machining World is our blog, and Swarf Cast is our podcast. So take it away, Arthur.
Very cool. And if you don't want to write any of that down or figure out the spelling, that's okay. I will put the links down below. So glad that we got to talk about reasons to consider used machinery. Let's bring more manufacturing back to North America. And to all my machining friends, keep your spindles turning and earning.